When I started 5th grade, I was enrolled in a gifted and talented program called Project Explore. And I had always thought that I loved school, but it was only at that moment I realized I hated regular school. Now, I did really good at school, so this was a surprise to me, but Project Explore opened so many different things to me. I could start the day with total freedom. I went over to a corner where there was an Apple II. I would teach myself how to program integer. Then I could spend the rest of the afternoon throwing pottery over in the art side. And then to finish up the day, I would spend hours just sitting underneath this long table on the floor. And there was a box of logic problems that I would just go through day after day, solving problems. I was so content. And on really special days, they had a science lab, and I could go there and I could do any experiment I wanted, unless it involved flames, in which case I had to call over a teacher when I pulled out that Bunsen burner, but the teacher knew their place. The only reason they were there was to put out a fire. Literally. And it was sort of like when you've been flying coach your entire life, and suddenly you're flying first class by some weird fluke, and you realize you don't have to fly the way you normally do all the time. It can be a wonderful experience. You can have filet mignon on real china with real silverware, and that makes it really hard to go back to coach. And this was 1978, and there were some huge budget cuts for our school budget, which meant we could only go to Project Explore 2 days a week, and we had to return to regular school every single week. And that was really hard, especially in 5th grade, because everything was changing with our social order. I mean, for the first time, there were popular kids and non-popular kids. And also, over the summer, girls had gone from still being kind of gross and having cooties to really cute. And I didn't know how to make them like me, and I really wanted to. And this was really hard with the transition every single week, but I had a friend there named Benji, and he would help me. He'd fill me in on all the inside jokes, the stuff I had missed over the intervening days. So one day, a few months into Project Explore, I sat down and the class began. Mrs. Mallard, our teacher, stood up and said, "Well, I got a chance to grade all of your stories, and there are 3 gold star stories." And I'm thinking, wait a second. That actually sounds like cool homework. Why didn't anyone bring me the homework and tell me that I could have written a story? I bet I would have gotten one of the gold stars, but okay, I'm curious, who got the gold stars? And it was David Mihawk, Chucky Bond, and this girl. This girl who was the prettiest girl in the entire class. Her name was Cheryl Zinmati. And she had these almond eyes and olive skin and this perfectly straight, dirty blonde hair and a perfectly symmetrical face. She gave off this gravitational pull so that when you passed by her in the hall, you couldn't not look at her. And then you realized you were staring at her, and then you turned away in embarrassment, and that brought more attention to you, and then you got more embarrassed. And so I never once spoke to Cheryl. She was terrifying to me, and I'm sure she did not think I existed. So the 3rd gold star went to Cheryl, and I'm thinking, my God, she's beautiful and she's talented. I shouldn't be surprised, but as the teacher says her name, some of the other students begin to turn around and stare at me, and they begin to giggle, and I have no idea why. And Benji leans over to me, and he whispers, "Hey, Cheryl wrote a story about you." I'm like, well, that doesn't seem possible. I mean, she couldn't possibly even notice me. But somehow she wrote a story about me. So now I have to see what the story is, but I don't know how to get my hands on the story. When the teacher then says, "You know, the 3 gold star stories are so great, I want you all to see what they are like, so I'm going to pin them up on the bulletin board so you can see what a great story is." And I'm like, this is fantastic. I get to see exactly what Cheryl thinks of me. And I cannot wait to go up there. But I'm in regular school with classes and periods, and I have to wait all the way until lunch. And it is like prison, sitting in those chairs that are like welded to the desktops. And I'm just waiting and waiting. And finally the lunch bell rings, and I don't race up there. I don't want to make a scene. I kind of casually stroll over. I read a little bit of Chucky's and of Dave's. And finally I dig into Cheryl's story. And it is a compelling narrative. She starts out that she's been given an assignment, a hero's journey by the teacher, to deliver homework to me. And for some reason, I was out of school, I don't know why, but she has to actually bring it to my house. And I'm like, hold on a second. That is my fantasy. How is she writing a story that's my fantasy? She's coming over to my house. This is incredible. So she comes all the way over and she knocks on my door, and when she opens the door, I'm there, and this is when I realized that she has also illustrated this story. And listen, I love Cheryl, but someone has to tell her she's a terrible artist. I mean, the drawings, they looked like they were made by a child. It was just pathetic. I actually looked sort of like a Peanuts cartoon, but not Charlie Brown, more like a Pigpen. You know, I had this stringy hair that she was so bad at drawing. There was all this stuff around my head, also like Pigpen. I'm like, I don't even know what she's doing. But I'm going to get back to the story. Because she describes me as this amazing mad scientist. And I think, oh my God, maybe the stories I told to Benji about all the science experiments, they got back to her and she's impressed by how smart I am. That's how to get girls to like you, I thought. And I began to create all of these fantasies in my head. You know, maybe she really does like me. And maybe that means we could start dating. Like we could be the first couple ever in 5th grade. And that wouldn't just make me popular, I would be like famous throughout the 5th grade. But then I kept on reading, and she said she handed the homework assignment to me, and our hands actually touched. And she was so close that she could actually look to my head, and she saw deep into my scalp, and there were cockroaches crawling around in my scalp. And they started leaping out of my head toward her, and she screamed, and she tried to run away, and I held on to her, and finally she broke away, and I screamed after her, and she screamed all the way home, but she got home safely, and that was the end of the story. And I do not understand how Mrs. Mallard thought it was okay to put that up on the bulletin board. And I'm standing there, and my cheeks are turning red, and I'm choking up, and my eyes are welling up, and I feel everyone staring at me. They're all behind me. I'm just staring at this wall, and I can't turn around, and I am never going to turn around, but I can't stand there the entire day, and I don't know what I'm going to do, and I make a plan. I put my head down, I turn around, I'm not going to look at anyone, I'm going straight to my cubby, I'm going to get my bag lunch, and when I get there, Benji's there, and he's like, hey, I tried to warn you. Didn't quite come across, and I didn't know what to say, but I asked him, why cockroaches? And it's like, oh, when you were gone at that other school, like some other kid saw that a cockroach, they said, crawled out of your desk. So they've been calling you Cockroach Dave. And I don't know if it really helped knowing the truth. But I said thanks, and I took my lunch, and I went outside, and I found a tree, and I ate my lunch by myself. And for most of the next 4 years, I ate lunch by myself. And it's funny, I haven't thought of this story in over 30 years, but last year, the girl that I was in love with broke up with me, and suddenly I had to start dating again. And I went on all these dates, and they ended the same way. These women would say, you seem really great, but I'm confused. You're 46 years old, and you've never been married. What's wrong with you? And I had to think about it. And, you know, I think there is a part of me, really, really deep down, that thinks that every woman I meet thinks that I'm some kind of monster. And she is just waiting for that moment to run away. And, you know, we think we grow up, we mature, we conquer those demons from our youth, but some of them bury themselves so deeply into our psyche that it takes something extraordinary to get them out. You know, to fully exorcise those beasts, sometimes you have to excavate the past, bring it out into the light, and then share it with total strangers. And it's only then that the power that the past has on you can dissipate into the ether, and you can move forward into the future with freedom. So thank you, guys.